And now, podcasting from the sun-scorched desert Southwest, weighing in at a combined total of 340 pounds, Brad Winchester, Tyler McDowell-Blanken, R. Gimmick Infringement.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement Podcast. I am Brad Winchester, and with me is my tag team partner, Tyler McDowell-Blanken. Tyler, it is Sunday, September 11th, as we record this. How are you doing today?
Great. It is a beautiful Sunday here. Brad, you and I spoke before we recorded, and it was a busy week for both of us professionally, personally, but we made it to another episode of Gimmick Infringement. So I am happy, I am blessed, and I'm just so grateful to be with you today to chop it up about everything wrestling related and some other topics that I know we're excited to get into. How are you, my friend?
Doing very well. I can't wait. I know we're working with the format a little bit. We're going to change it up this week. Really, the only thing that'll be familiar lately for people listening and watching is the Rose from Tyler, which is coming later in the show. But then a couple of things that we either haven't done in a long time or haven't ever done that I can remember. I think we might have done it once. But with that being said, let's get into it. Tyler, hit me with your WWE question.
Yeah, let's do it, Brad. I'm going to give you a scenario here. I want you to picture this with me. It's Sunday, April 2nd, 2023. SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, California. Braun Strowman has returned. Just utter domination. Most recently on SmackDown, he beat up the Alpha Academy. In this scenario, April 2nd, 2023, SoFi Stadium, Los Angeles, do you know what is occurring that day?
Yeah, yes, I do, Tyler. It's WrestleMania.
It's WrestleMania. Brad, I want you to predict.
I assume night one.
Night one, yes.
Okay.
I want you to predict what is going to be Braun Strowman's match at WrestleMania.
Ooh, good question. I too have a Braun Strowman question, so that bodes well. I never thought we would be talking this much about Braun Strowman.
Strowman, but he's back. That's the most recent return.
It's a huge deal.
It's a huge
literal huge deal. He's a huge, enormous human being, and he is shredded since he left. I guess it depends. Like, he's either going to be able to go in there and have a big match because he was able to control his narrative, or he's going to do some feud with another monster. I just don't see him being built up to be that guy just yet. I don't think he's winning one of the two main titles. So I can see him doing something with, like, do we assume he's going to be babyface at this point? Because I feel like he's more of a natural heel. Well, I can't really tell because all he does is go, "Bro," and that's it. So
exactly. He
depends on how he's presented.
When he was at his hottest, he was certainly a babyface. But then
right.
I think they made him too much of a natural babyface when they teamed him with Nicholas, the 9-year-old, in attendance at WrestleMania. Then it's clear, like, okay, Braun's a good guy.
Yeah,
I know he was kind of shades of gray for a bit.
Well, the stuff with Alexa was really good, and
what was massively over. So maybe I take back my statement. Maybe when he was kind of shades of gray, he was most over. But to answer your question, I think in this current run, I would say shades of gray. I would imagine they're probably worried if they go too much babyface, if they go Cricket Wireless sponsor Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
That's how he wasn't taken seriously after that. So I'm going to go shades of gray for Braun. Not a good guy, not a bad guy, just a guy who beats up every tag team. Roster,
he was monster among men, right? Now he's monster of monsters.
Monster of all monsters.
You can't be monster of all monsters and be a good guy. That's not a thing you can do. Otherwise, you're teddy bear of all monsters. And it doesn't make sense, and you got to eat that nickname. So
you know what's interesting, though, is I could have sworn on commentary Michael Cole called him the monster among men. I wonder if that was just a slip-up. It
was probably a slip-up. Kind of like Bryan Danielson was cutting a promo to set up that Jericho match and started calling him Daniel. He went, Bryan Danielson, like that. Like he almost called himself Daniel Bryan.
I can't wait to talk to AEW. I'm sure his name's going to be mentioned again.
Probably, yes. I have a feeling. Yeah, So I guess the reason that I'm asking you is I can see him fighting as a baby face. Either he's in a handicap match, a stip match of some kind, or he's fighting somebody equally enormous. And I don't know who they have on the current roster outside of like Drew, who would be close in size. I can see him wrestling Roman Reigns, but I don't think they'll do that at Mania. I think that does not feel like a Mania main event. They'll have to build the hell out of Braun to get him back there for a Mania main event when it feels like they're building toward The Rock or something else. I feel like if Roman's going to drop the strap, it's going to be at Mania. And it'll have to be a Mania moment for somebody else to be built and then give that man a vacation.
Yes and yes. It kind of feels like that's Cody's moment, no? 100%. Which means that the Rock match either would happen before WrestleMania or not happen at all, right?
Well, I would like the Rock match to happen at WrestleMania because it doesn't need a title.
Right.
Because Cody could easily come back. I don't think we're going to see Cody until the Rumble. I'd be surprised. He'll make the return, win the Rumble, and then he'll probably challenge him at Backlash instead of WrestleMania. And then Cody will be defending against somebody at WrestleMania. That's the way that I see it, because Rock Roman needs to be a WrestleMania match.
And like you said, does not need the title. I've actually, we're very, very much on the same page today. I thought about that as well. Would it downgrade the moment if Cody were to win at a Backlash or what was that pay-per-view they used to have, Fastlane, as opposed to him winning in the main event of night 2 of Mania?
I mean, I think it would, but at that point too, maybe we see a title split. So maybe Roman does lose to somebody along the way. Maybe Drew gets a rematch and takes the belt. But according to those reports, it sounds like there's no plans of letting him drop again because they want him to be the champion of the generation. So they want to keep Roman's reign going, ironically, there. So going back to the original question, I really don't know. I would love to see Braun and Ricochet, or Braun and
that makes me happy.
Braun and Ricochet, Braun and Cedric, Braun and Rey Mysterio, Braun and
getting Cedric on the card. I like
even
it.
Finn Balor. Like, yeah, put him against a little guy that's in there to like. Braun and AJ would be fun, I think. Braun and Cody, if Cody's not doing anything else. Maybe that's the match. Maybe it's a number 1 contenders match. I don't know.
So hypothetical for you. Braun versus Omos. Not wetting your beak. Oh, you would like that?
I wouldn't like it, but it would be a ton of fun. Like, they'd make it fun. They'd do something in it to make it. Triple H wouldn't let it just be a squash match. It wouldn't be Brock and Bobby Lashley. What they did to Bobby, I'm still mad about. Like, come on now. Brock's not going to manhandle Bobby Lashley like that. He might beat him in a real fight. He probably would. I think he's probably the better fighter, but come on. They squashed him. The almighty Bobby Lashley. So I could see something like that happening where Omos comes out. If Vince were running it and it's Omos versus Braun, Omos kills Braun when he tries to like run through him and they play the choo-choo train sounds. Yes.
That was a thing that happened.
Yeah. That's a thing that happened. As long as Braun can run around the ring and not slip like he did in his debut, his return.
Yeah.
Things will be okay because he killed somebody.
And presentation wise, my final question for you now that Braun is back. Again, not a surprise. I know Fightful had reported that he was scheduled to return, and he is. What do you make of the presentation of him so far? He's rocking the red pants instead of the cargo. He's using the power bomb as a finish, a very Kevin Nash-esque jackknife. What do you think so far of the presentation? Is it what you expected?
No, I didn't think that he would have to be the comp for Wardlow.
It is kind of Wardlow, like Wardlow meets Nash meets.
Yeah, he's giving people a jackknife, but like the power bomb thing, it's like, are we doing that? Yeah. It's pretty obvious what you're doing there because Wardlow comes out, power bombs people, and then does the big yell. Braun came out, power bomb dudes, and then did the big yell. Kevin Nash never did the big yell, but he did the diesel fist pump with the yell. So I'm not really sure. I don't know. It's fine. It's different. It's better probably because it's a huge move away from what it was because Braun never really changed all that much from when he was in the cult of Wyatt, the Wyatt family, where he wore like the army pants and the black tank. That wasn't too far off from what he was doing with Bray and Bunch. So
I think his
I
previous
don't hate it.
finisher was a big power slam.
Yes,
I tend to prefer a
the
jackknife
running power slam.
I tend to prefer a jackknife power bomb over a running power slam myself.
I like the running power slam because nobody was using that, and it made me. Nobody's using power slams as finishers anymore. People are using power bombs as finishers. It felt like a little bit like you could have done something else. Do something that's older. Like I just think Farouk, like
Shout out Ron Simmons.
Yeah,
Always an appropriate time.
The power slam and the spine buster that Ron Simmons would put on people, and a power bomb for that matter. That dude just like wanted to dust the campus with your back, like hard. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Who do you think he wrestles at Mania?
Omos seems really likely to me.
You don't think it'll be Shane McMahon in a rematch?
I do not, and I am not devastated about that.
That was his last match there, right?
Yes, good call. The steel cage match, right?
Yeah, where he knocked Shane through the cage,
which led to Shane winning.
Yeah.
What a time. I could see Omos simply for the spectacle of it. I'm not sure where Omos fits in Triple H's WWE.
Because seen him around.
In some regard, it seems like maybe Braun is taking the Omos spot of the giant dude who's just wrecking people. So maybe that's a reach for me to put Omos on the WrestleMania card at this moment. I really like what you said about Cody. Or, I mean, yes, please give me a Ricochet versus Braun match, especially if the former wins that match. I'm going to go Omos for now. I don't think he'll be in a world title picture, Braun, that is. Right. I would also love to see Braun in some sort of 6-man ladder match for the Intercontinental or US title. I always love when they throw a really huge competitor into those ladder matches.
Yes.
Because it's just like, ladder matches are not Braun's forte, but let's see how this turns out. So
I mean, I got Keith Lee in one of them, right?
Yeah, like, exactly. When AEW had that sirloin one, right? It was Keith Lee, it was Wardlow,
Hobbs,
and Wardlow ended up winning.
And then Ricky Starks.
Ricky Starks, I think Orange Cassidy, and there was someone else. I want to say that was maybe Revolution, the first AEW pay-per-view of the year.
I'm trying to think of who else was in it. Yeah, I know there were the two smaller guys. It was Ricky. Yeah. What was it, Darby?
I don't think it was Darby.
God, I can't remember who else.
Ricky OC and someone else.
Probably Sammy or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to see Braun.
Oh, it was Sammy, right? Because he did the crazy like spin and missed everybody.
I didn't remember that, but that sounds very likely.
So in the Rampage video package, I think it's Rampage or Dynamite, they show Sammy flipping off the ladder and landing, but like whoever he was jumping toward was over here, and Sammy came down right here, I guess here from this perspective, and just like all he got was arms, and he just on the mat and was dead for like 2 minutes.
Sammy has done so many wild spots that I remember this. I vaguely remember this happening, but I don't recall the exact moment.
That might have been the TNT title match. Now that I'm thinking of it,
Cody, right?
No, Scorpio. I think
Scorpio.
It might have been Cody, but I thought it was Scorpio Sky.
Yeah,
in one of their matches.
That was a feud that definitely happened. My answer to you, Braun and Omos would be cool. Like you said, I think they would really do right by both guys. But I'm gonna predict Braun in some sort of intercontinental 6-man ladder match.
Okay.
And imagine Gunther in a ladder match. Like
that would be great.
I would love to see what that looks like. Gunther versus Braun in a potential feud.
That would be awesome. That to me. I mean, Sheamus versus anybody at this point. Like
arguably the best run of his career right now.
Oh my God, yeah. Like
it's incredible.
I would not hate it if Sheamus was the one to take the belt off of Roman. They just had him.
Oh,
have him have that one final run, but
off Roman. Okay.
He's putting it's not going to happen, but I wouldn't mind it. Like he's shown that he's like this monster. It's just the problem is that he's putting all the younger guys over right now, so he's losing a lot. He looks great in the matches, but he's losing a lot, which isn't great for winning championships. I feel like very much like right now Sheamus is on a Mick Foley run, where Mick had that great run at the end of his WWE career where he's just looking great in all these matches and helping build all these stars. Randy Orton, Edge at the ECW event. I think it was the second one night stand with the flaming barbed wire table. He wasn't going to win any of those matches, and he went in there and like you always thought he was going to do it, and he always lost. He was putting them over, and I feel very much like Sheamus is on a run like that right now, where he's letting the younger guys get some shine. But he also is looking like $1 million out there. So, and I think that's the goal for most of these guys, is not win titles, especially the guys that have been doing it for a while. I really want to see him now. They told that story, and now he's a babyface. Sheamus is a babyface.
I would even argue the Brawling Brutes, by extension, are somehow Ridge Holland is
Pete
someone
Dunne
we want to root for.
We are this close from Pete Dunne. We are this close from Pete Dunne.
The gear, the mannerisms, it's there. I just can't believe, Brad, we live in a time where SmackDown kicked off not with a promo. Ironically, AEW started with 2 promos this week, not WWE, but SmackDown kicked off with Imperium, newly reformed Imperium versus the Brawling Brutes. And that's, to me, that's as hot of a feud that you have in all of WWE right now as anything. I love that.
So I was thinking about this. I'll go into my question. I'm skipping it. I'm not even going to look up what I was going to look up here. I'm going to skip it because it was, what do you think the ceiling is for Braun in this Triple H led WWE? We talked enough Braun. Here's what I would like. I would like to talk about, I think it was the bump, or it was Raw Talk. It was post one of those things in an interview that happened after the show with Maximum Male Models, where Max Dupree. Did you see this?
I did. I did. Okay. Absolutely.
Okay. One Max Dupree paused in the middle of his thought to really lean into the words "the night," and it seems, Tyler, like we are going to be getting LA Knight, hopefully on the main roster, and hopefully sometime soon. I really like the LA Knight character. I didn't watch a lot of NXT, but I liked that character a lot. And I think it's what we thought we were going to be getting on the main roster from him. And then we got Max Dupree, which has also been great. We know that this guy can make money out of anything. And I think I'm really excited about this. Do you think we get LA Knight? And what do you think the ceiling is for LA Knight instead of the Braun Strowman question?
100%. I did see the clip circulating online of him saying, I think the quote was, all of Maximum Male Models were like sad and despondent. And he said, you have to go through the day to get to the night.
Yes.
So I said, yes, I'm here for it. Although LA Knight is kind of an absurd name, to your point, LA Knight, Eli Drake, Max Dupree, whatever we want to call him, is just tailor-made to be a WWE superstar. I am stoked in terms of a ceiling for him. Definitely mid-card. I think he'll absolutely, if I'm fantasy booking this WrestleMania 6-man IC ladder match, I think he would be a perfect wrestler to be in that match. I don't necessarily see him being a consistent world title contender, but mid-card, I think he would be awesome. Like you said, he talks people into the building, charisma magnet, and a much better in-ring worker than I think he gets credit for. He had a feud, Brad, you may recall, in NXT with Cameron Grimes, where Ted DiBiase was brought in and they were fighting over the $1 million belt, which has now gone away, unfortunately. But him and Cameron Grimes had some bangers of matches. So I would love to see LA Knight back and getting the chance not only to cut promos, which we know he'll just knock out of the park, but I think there's going to be a large portion of the audience that their eyes will be open to see, oh no, this dude is actually a really good in-ring wrestler and can have rivalries that aren't as silly perhaps as Maximum Male Models, but the dude can turn on that serious button whenever he wants to. He can work face, he can work heel. Like you, I'm a huge fan of this dude.
So the quote was, "Gentlemen, you have to pick your chins up. You have to lift those grizzled chins. I've been there before, and unfortunately a few too many times. And in that process, I have learned you have to go through the day to get to the night." And then he walks off and everybody looks confused. Is it his sister in storyline or cousin? I can't remember.
I think it's his cousin. Okay. I could be totally wrong on that. The former Sophia Cromwell in NXT. Yes. I think now it's supposed to be his younger cousin.
So I'm totally with you on the mid card. I think that's a great place for him right now, and who knows what the future holds for him. He gives me kind of like Wade Barrett vibes, in terms of like promos and being involved. And wasn't Wade Barrett in a pay-per-view? They kept going up like this escalating tower thing to announce like that America sucks and here's why
I think
over
so.
and over and over again.
I think I haven't thought
Yeah,
about that in years. I think you're 100%.
I can't
right.
remember what it was, either the Rumble or Mania at some point. I don't remember,
Yeah.
but
What was it? Was like was that before his bad news gimmick when he was Bad News Barrett?
I think
I'm
it
afraid
was.
I've got some bad news.
I think that might have been bad news.
That might have been okay.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
So that's what so like he gives me the same kind of like, I can go ahead and do that if I can't be in the ring kind of energy, if that makes sense. But I can also see him absolutely doing really, really great things, especially with the mid-card titles, to make them crazy entertaining and do some really good in-ring work at the same time. So I hope we get him, man. I think it's such an exciting time in WWE, and I can't believe I'm saying this, because if I go back 6 months and listen to what we say, we're not even going to talk about it on
We're
this
not covering
podcast.
it anymore. This is an
Right.
AEW only pod.
Yeah.
We remember.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to see people that we like getting called up. I'm glad Triple H seems to have righted the ship, and he deserves his flowers. And so do we, Tyler. It is time once again for a rose from Tyler.
And now, for a rose from GI's most eligible bachelor.
Believe it or not, my friend, we have only two episodes left of The Bachelorette season 19. We are going to have a Tuesday episode this week, and then which is the finale part 1. Then the finale part 2 is going to be next Tuesday, so September 13th and September 20th. Brad, a lot has gone down since our last Rose report. It's hard to even determine where to start, but I will tell you that Gabby has only one guy left, which is really odd. Typically heading into the finale, there are at least 2 to 3 men left, thus increasing the suspense of who the Bachelorette is going to choose. But in a very odd twist of fate, if I can use a wrestling term here, Jason and Johnny, 2 of the 3 suitors for Gabby, are gone. And both of them are eliminated for similar reasons. Johnny let Gabby know in this really interesting beach date in Mexico that although he likes Gabby, he's not ready to be engaged. So it was very cordial. It was like a mutual split. And then Jason, who Gabby was really into, also in Mexico, separate date, said that he is not interested in being engaged either. So both of these dudes gone, which leaves Eric. I don't know if you remember Eric, Brad, but we predicted that he is the villain of the season. Really interesting character arc for him, though. He's been positioned at least to be more of a baby face. During the hometown date, we met his dad, who unfortunately is battling cancer. And the narrative really shifted from, is Eric a heel, to maybe he's just not a good guy, not a bad guy, he's just a guy on the show, to a lot of us in Bachelor Nation actually maybe want to root for Eric because it seems like he is a good son, he loves his family, and who doesn't want to root for that? However, I don't know if you saw this headline, Brad. It turns out that someone discovered Eric's high school yearbook, and there's a photo of the dude in this yearbook absolutely dressed in blackface. So that was a huge headline from the week. Yes, he put out an apology on Instagram and said that he was dressed as Jimi Hendrix. So he had a wig, he had the darker skin color and everything. And so he apologized. His reasoning was, I was trying to show my love for Jimi Hendrix as an artist, but now I realize how regrettable my actions were. Again, that's not a direct quote, but that was the gist of his Instagram post. So anyway, he is the only remaining suitor for Gabby. The trailer teased that it may not be a done deal. Maybe Gabby ends up leaving the show without an engagement, without Eric. That remains to be seen. Quickly, Rachel has 3 guys left. She has Tino, the obvious front runner all season. She has our dude Avon, who we are really pulling for. And then finally, Zach, who is half in, half out, ? Last week's episode ended with Zach pulling Rachel aside at the rose ceremony because he is worried that his fantasy suite did not go well. Usually for the fantasy suite date, Brad, as you know, the implication is that the lead is intimate with whichever suitor he or she goes on the fantasy suite with. In Zach's case, it was basically established that they were not intimate. According to him, Rachel and he spoke about religion and politics and family overnight, and Rachel asked him constantly, "Are you sure you're ready for an engagement? You're only 25. Do you think you're ready? Are you sure?" That did not sit well with Zach. Rachel's 26, Zach is 25. So he was thinking, what does this even mean? What, you're only a year older than me? What? He's getting the vibe that she's not into it anymore. And I can confirm that absolutely seems to be the case. So Brad, I'm sticking with my picks. Eric, obviously the only suitor left. And then in terms of Rachel, and I picked Eric a while ago. In terms of Rachel, I'm still going with Tino. I don't want it. I'm definitely rooting for Avon, but it seems like Tino just has Rachel's heart, and I don't know that that's going to change. So very quickly, quick plug, gimmickinfringementpod.com. We have our official preview heading into this week's part 1 season finale. I broke it down using some facts versus fiction. So really trying to decipher what's real in Bachelor Nation and what is not so real. So I encourage you to check it out, gimmickinfringementpod.com, week 10 preview. Brad, that was my rose. I hope that you will join us for this journey over the next week. And man, I can't wait to talk about it next week.
Thanks for doing that. All I could think of is the whole time I was trying to figure out how I could make an All Along the Watchtower reference about Eric, but I can't. I got nothing. I love that song. That's really unfortunate, man. Like we were talking. I was actually listening to Folia's pod, and they were talking about Hulk Hogan, and I think we ignored the contributions that he made to the business because of all the stuff that came out afterward, and they didn't want to talk about it as like he made mistakes and stuff like that. But it's like, he did make mistakes. He made plenty of mistakes. I don't know that saying something like what he said is a mistake if it's coming from, I don't know, it's coming from a different place than, oh, I slipped. So that was in there. And that, I don't know. I have a hard time with that. It's the same thing with blackface, knowing full well that my daughter has also done blackface inadvertently. One time it was because she wanted to be a cat, but the other time was because she wanted to be pretty like her friend, and we had to say, hey, we don't do that. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, these are the conversations that are just, I'm always fascinated to hear. When you share this with me, I'm always fascinated to hear how you broach these conversations. Because it's one thing when we're adults and we kind of have this general understanding of right versus wrong. But when you have a child, someone who's so impressionable and pure, just navigating these conversations in this very complex world that we're living in is just something I always value hearing your thoughts on. And of course, how you and Jess approach these conversations. Because in Eric's case, unlike Freya, he was not 4 years old when this happened. Right. This was high school. Eric is, I want to say, in his late 20s.
This was not long ago.
No. So he was in high school, presumably anywhere between 2005 to 2012. So, the excuse of ignorance or us not living in a very, I guess, woke time period, if you will, that's just not an excuse. But like you said, what's the point of, you have that where we can go really hard on this dude for obvious reasons, because you being in blackface is completely unacceptable and it's just not a good look at all, contrasted with how much, not leniency, but how much do you want to give credit to? We grow, we change, we become more informed. As we get older, hopefully we meet people and gain different experiences that influence how we carry ourselves. This could be an hour of GI just by itself. What's the balance between, have I canceled Hulk Hogan out forever versus I can recognize his accomplishments as a performer versus perhaps the scumbag he is in his real life? It's just unfortunate, man. We were really pulling for Eric, especially after learning about his dad. But you being in a blackface photo honoring Jimi Hendrix in your yearbook, I'm kind of even more upset that, where's your yearbook advisor?
Yes, exactly
Brad,
what I was thinking. Yes.
Brad, I used to teach high school English. You are currently a high school English teacher. Yearbook advisors,
Yeah.
staff members, there's an element of quality control that typically happens here, no?
You would think so. Yeah. I just also common sense. I don't know. Call me crazy. Like you want to go out as Hendrix and you get a wig and you wear the clothes and that's it. I don't think anybody's going to get that mad. It's still not great. It's still not ideal. I don't know. Wear a Hendrix shirt. You can wear a Hendrix tee.
You get it from Target, Walmart,
You don't have to go out and be
Amazon.
like, well, I have straight blonde hair, so let me get this big brown wig. Like it's not great. It's really
No.
not great.
No, it's not.
Freya can wear a Moana costume all she wants because that's all she's doing is wearing a Moana costume, and she looks like Cinderella in it. It's a weird hodgepodge, but that's as far as we're going. Like you go ahead and pretend to be whoever you want to be back there, but we're not going to be weird about it. It's the same weirdos that come out though that are like, I can't believe you're canceling all this stuff. That probably got really pissed about Ariel being black in the live action The Little Mermaid. It's like,
Right.
have you heard her? Have you seen her? Why are you upset? She's playing a fish person. Like, what? It's not accurate. What do you mean it's not accurate? She's a fish. She's a fish, and you are mad about this.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah.
For in Eric's case, I mean, you know my thoughts on Hulk Hogan. Totally out on the dude.
Yeah.
But in Eric's case,
Erich.
when we've seen former Bachelorette contestants involved in these situations, as recently as Matt James's season, the first Black Bachelor, with the woman he picked, who was seen. I don't know if you heard about this. I don't know if we talked about this on air. The woman Matt James picked about a year or two ago, it came out after the season that there were photos of her online from her college days going to these former plantations for like slave themed parties. Like it was a very much Greek life sorority fraternity based thing in the South. They would go to plantations for, they wouldn't call it slave themed parties, but it was like that was the gist of it, is let's dress as if we lived in the, hundreds of years ago. And I don't know, man, it seems completely foreign to me, but when white fraternities and sororities get together and want to hang out and take pictures for Instagram clout, I guess this was the result of it. So anyway, she got a ton of pushback. That led to Matt James and her breaking up. But fast forward a year later and they are together. Matt James wrote a book. So clearly he forgave her and perhaps saw that she was putting in the work to become more informed. And I'm curious to see if Eric now follows a similar trajectory. He is the only man remaining for Gabby. I wonder if that's going to be covered at all in the next week. I told you, Brad, the mullet gave me a bad vibe. You can go back weeks ago on Gimmick Infringement. I know you remember.
Did. Yes.
That was the sole reason why I predicted him to be the heel. He was rocking the mullet. I didn't want to judge him based on his hairstyle choice, but I have to take a small victory lap here because I think subconsciously I kind of predicted this. I saw it coming.
Yeah, man. I don't even know how to transition out of this now, other than to say let's move on. I'm ready for your AEW question.
I'm good with that. So I might surprise you here with this one. I want to go to the main event from Dynamite.
Ooh.
Yes, for the ROH Pure Championship, Daniel Garcia, speaking of getting his flowers, he definitely got his flowers in his hometown of Buffalo, New York. Daniel Garcia beat Wheeler Yuta. My question for you, Brad, who, all things considered, from January 1 up until now when we're recording, September 11th, who has had the bigger breakout year? Daniel Garcia or Wheeler Yuta?
Garcia, I think. Wheeler Yuta has had a huge breakout year, but his momentum really petered out in the last 2 months. Like he wrestled Garcia a couple of times and they've had great matches because those two have wrestled forever and they have incredible chemistry together. I think eventually those two will form a tag team and win a championship. I really can see that happening. Wheeler Yuta and Red Death. Yes. Those guys have just been on the same path for so long. And I think that's really cool. I think Wheeler Yuta made the most of his spot. So the only reason he got that was because of either suspensions or injury, correct? That Mox match happened because
Yeah, wasn't it Brian Kendrick?
that's right. It was Kendrick.
Speaking of, this is the through line of the episode. Speaking of
Yes.
problematic incidents from one's past
Yeah.
coming back to light. Yeah, Brian Kendrick was taken off that show, right?
Yeah,
That
about an
that
hour.
opener.
Yeah, about an hour
Yeah.
before the match started, Wheeler
Right.
Yuta was like, "Hey, you're going to be in a match with John Moxley to open the show," and they had a banger. That match was great.
Oh yeah, universally applauded.
They put it together in like 10 minutes, and that match was one of my favorite matches of the year because Wheeler Yuta arrived, and then they had the rematch, and then he fought Danielson, and he just got more and more like aggressive because he was hanging out with the best friends up until that point, and that was his split from the best friends, and then eventual joining of Blackpool Combat Club, where he got the handshake from Regal, and it was after he got slapped by him because he hadn't done enough yet. So the eventual handshake from Regal that ruled, and then he won the Pure Championship, and he's had a couple of great matches since then. But that was like 6 months ago or 5 months ago, something like that, and he hasn't really done a lot on AEW TV since that has furthered his momentum in big moments. He's been having really big matches with guys that they're not Danielson, they're not Moxley. He's been having really great matches with Garcia and Aaron Solo and guys that are on the undercard or the mid card, and that's fine. They've been great, but Daniel Garcia has been fighting Blackpool Combat Club the entire time with him. He's had several matches with Danielson. He's fought all of these people like in big spots. He had a match with Punk that was really big. He's been doing a lot of really, really great work, and his promos are next level too. Like his promo work is definitely beyond where Wheeler Yuta is right now.
We haven't spoken much about Garcia's promo work. It's
great.
very unique, right? His charisma is incredibly unique.
Insane cockiness. I love it. He is right now. He's like the epitome of professional wrestling. The way he stands and with the trunks and his legs being a little bit shorter, as a compliment. I'm saying this as a compliment. It's going to sound like an insult. He reminds me of Bob Backlund, like young Bob Backlund. See, I knew you were going to laugh.
I did not have that on my bingo card.
But I was watching like a Nash thing. It was the Untold on WWE Network, and it was Kevin Nash and Shawn Michaels and their relationship when Nash first got in, and Michaels was going after the championship, and they had people in the program, and I think Nash, when Nash won the title, he won it from Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund was WWF champion still at that point. That wasn't that long ago. I was
that really wasn't
94, I think. 94,
recent.
95. So
yeah.
Kevin Nash went in, kicked him in the gut, power bombed him, and pinned him and won the match. That was the whole match. Absolute squash. He killed Bob Backlund. But the way Bob Backlund's just like ramrod straight, the way his posture is, and having the shorter legs and wrestling in trunks, Daniel Garcia reminds me of that, like the old school shoot style wrestler. So I've just really appreciated him. And Bob Backlund's one of the greats of all time. He doesn't get enough love because it's so old. I don't know if you remember in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I can't remember. He had a Rumble appearance. But Bob Backlund showed up and the crowd was cheering and stuff. I think a lot of people were like, who's this guy? But like when he did the crossface chicken wing,
yes,
was his finisher.
Yeah. Vintage.
So I love what Garcia is doing. He's a very unique look in that he's modern cocky, but he sort of looks a lot like Bob Backlund in the ring to me. I can absolutely see him being a top star. Wheeler Yuta isn't there yet for me, but I can see him being in all of the banger matches they have all year. I just don't. Right now, I want to see him do more on the mic before I can say he had a better year than Garcia. How about you?
You know, I was actually leaning the other way. I was leaning Wheeler Yuta. I think from January 1 up until now, I would take Yuta. I think for the rest of the year, though, to your point, Garcia's trajectory seems to be higher than what Yuta may reach. It definitely seems like the excitement about Yuta has petered out a bit. I think, like you said, in part because of him maybe not being, spotlighted as frequently as he was months ago. Also paired with so much drama that's happening
Yeah,
in AEW
right.
right now between Punk, which hopefully we'll get to just an update on that at some point with Punk and Kenny being back. I think there's just been a lot that's maybe overtaken the excitement about Yuta. There's just been more newsworthy, interesting, weird stuff to talk about. So I'm going with Yuta, but I do recognize want to see more promo work from him because Garcia seems to have gotten more big moments in that regard. And B, I think from now, September until December, it's really going to be Garcia's time. I would imagine a match against Jericho is forthcoming, maybe at Full Gear.
Yeah.
If not sooner.
Right.
So him, presuming he wins that match, him picking up a dub against Chris Jericho is by far going to be his biggest win in AEW. I would even argue ahead of his big win against Wheeler Yuta in his hometown this past week. Yeah, Garcia's ceiling for the rest of 2022 is just enormous and probably higher than Yuta. But I'm still going with Yuta, man. I think it's easy for us to forget about that stretch he had where he was one of the most over baby faces on the weekly product. And he was just putting out banger after banger after banger. If I may quote Sheamus on Twitter, Wheeler was just putting out nothing but excellent matches. I mean, you can't go wrong with either dude.
Right.
And if you're predicting an eventual Blackpool Combat Club tag team of Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia, I am thrilled if we're going to get that maybe in the new year.
So I'm looking at, I was wanting to look at all of Garcia's matches from this year.
He lost a lot of them.
He did. He lost a ton of them, almost entirely losing.
And I think Yuta was probably winning a lot of those at the same time.
Let's see.
I know both lost to Moxley. I think both probably lost to Punk at some point.
It says defeated, but that's none of these things are true. So I'm not really sure how to read this thing.
Yeah.
But it was Garcia. Well, he won a lot. Actually, I take that back. He won a lot. I think he lost a lot on TV because there's tons of dark matches here and stuff. Like he beat Fuego. But he in 2.0 lost to Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz.
Right.
But then they beat a bunch of people in a dark tag. Let's see. Dark. He won in Terminus.
Love the Terminus shout.
Yeah, they beat a couple of people on Dark. Beach Break. Chris Jericho, Santana Ortiz defeated Daniel Garcia and 2.0. That was before the turn.
Wow. That was this year.
Yep. He beat, this is all in January so far. Wow. He beat Kevin Blackwood, Alex Shelley, Black Taurus, Mike Bailey. That's a big one. And he beat Josh Woods on Dark. I didn't know that. Lots of Dark Elevation. He beat Uemura in New Japan Strong Rivals. I had no idea. Danielson beat him, but that's February is really where he started getting all of his other matches on screen, because remember the storyline leading up to it was that he would that Danielson wanted to have either Yuta or Garcia. And here's the other reason that I pick Garcia. Aside from Yuta getting mad at the best friends, the only time we've seen him speak really is his matches with Daniel Garcia. The videos that he did with Garcia. Yuta's best work has been with Garcia, arguably on this run. Outside of the two matches he had, the in-ring work has been great. So hard to know whether or not it's him or if it's Mox or if it's him or if it's Danielson, because Danielson has bangers with everybody. So who is it in that case? You know what I mean? So your dance partner's important, but Garcia and Yuta had a great match together. So I don't know. He lost to Danielson, and then that was Terminus, so who cares? Let's see. He in 2.0 won in a dark match. New Japan, he lost to Eddie Kingston with they tagged. But then like Jericho and Garcia defeated Alex Reynolds and John Silver. And then we get all these other matches. Jericho, Garcia, and Jake Hager beat Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, and Santana. So he did all these things. Kingston beat Garcia. We knew that was going to happen. But then Garcia bounces back and beats Bandito. Wanted to say that. So I'm going through all these matches, and then suddenly it's like Garcia. He beat Alan Angels. He lost in that battle royale when Kyle O'Reilly won before being injured, which bums me out. God, there's so many things I forgot about this. Then you had the blood and guts match. But Garcia at PWG beat Takeshita. I want to find that match. That match is probably awesome.
We got to find that footage.
At Death Before Dishonor was their first match, but that was Yuta Garcia. And those promo vignette things they did were great. But again, that's the only time I remember Yuta doing anything. So I think both of them have had such a similar year that I don't know if you can pick one and just feel good about it, because the year's not over, number one. And two, they both are successful being in groups with larger than life guys that have far exceeded their stardom so far. It's just Chris Jericho, for God's sake. And then you got Moxley and Danielson, two of the best in the world. Like, you have all these people, but he had that match with Punk. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. We could go on and on and on, and I am going on and on and on. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'm just going to go with recency bias and say Garcia.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. The trajectory for both of these dudes, I think, is as high as any young talent on the AEW roster. So I can't wait to see how the rest of the year plays out for both of them.
Yeah, someday we'll find out. And Tyler, it's time for someday when you have kids.
And now it's time for
I'm crazy.
Someday
Someday.
when you have kids.
You're crazy.
Tyler, we were talking about this a while ago, and we were going to get to this, but we had 1,500 pay-per-views over a weekend. CM Punk decided to burn everything down. The fire did burn. There are suspensions everywhere. Larry the dog is hopefully safe. All of this stuff went down. We have no earthly idea what really happened backstage. There are investigations. Maybe we'll talk about it if we have time later on. But before that, Freya was being picked on at school. And Tyler, I know what it's going to be like for you when you have kids. I don't care if that kid is a boy or a girl. I have a girl. She is incredibly girly. She paints her nails. She likes to wear dresses. She likes to put on makeup. She also knows how to do some wrestling moves. And she lets me tee off on her. I will smack her and she will beat the piss out of me. And she's like, I'll hit her, like smack her on the back, and she'll go, harder. And it's like, I'm not going to do it harder. I'm not going to hurt you here. That's crazy. So
that's news to me. Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
She thinks it's great. She's really tough when she knows it's coming. If she doesn't know it's coming, she's kind of a baby.
Sure. I was that way too.
But that's how this started. Some kids called her a baby on the playground, little baby. And then they were saying, you're not 4, or you're not 5, you're 4. Stupid kindergarten stuff. But she took it really personally. Like, don't call me a baby. I'm not a little kid. Now, I didn't know until later that a young man that she goes to school with stood up for her and told him to leave her alone and stop picking on her. That kind of thing. That was really cool.
Love that.
And I guess it hasn't really been a problem since. But yeah, I absolutely love that too. But all I could think, Tyler, was that she knows how to give a DDT now. And she knows what punches are. She knows, I could see her kicking somebody and smacking her leg to emphasize the noise because she tries to do it often. But I know she knows how to give a DDT. I found this out recently that she gave a DDT to a classmate in preschool who was being incredibly angry, probably hangry, a little tired, who knows. And Freya wasn't having any of it because she was also hangry, and just grabbed him and worked herself into a shoot. Put him in a headlock, got the head behind her back, and planted him on a very thinly carpeted tile floor. Head first, DDT. He was going down the hard way no matter what happened. She doesn't know that I sell for her, that I jump in the air and plant myself when she gives DDTs, that I pick her up when she does it. So she's like, no, you're coming down with me and you're hitting the ground. Tyler, I know that if these kids kept pushing her, somebody was getting DDT'd out of the rocks. Somebody was getting DDT'd off of a slide. It was
Hard
gonna
way.
happen.
Absolute hard way.
Absolute hard way. That kid's going home with a cast, with stitches, with bandages. And I gotta tell you, I'm probably not gonna feel all that bad. I told her what to do. We got to talk to the teacher. If it doesn't get taken care of, you tell them to stop. If that doesn't work, talk to the teacher. If that doesn't work, tell us. If that doesn't work, then you do what you got to do. And Tyler, I know someday when you have kids, you're going to be torn between what is the right thing to do, the morally correct thing to do, we really shouldn't be hurting people out here, and being torn between being super proud of your kid for knowing how to DDT somebody's ass on the floor. And I hope you get to experience this for yourself and navigating these murky waters someday when you have kids.
The only thing that I'll add here is this is a reminder why Someday is my favorite segment in all of Gimmick Infringement. Thank you for that.
Oh, of course. Absolute pleasure of doing that every single time.
The Freya DDT. Fantastic.
Yeah. If she can remember how to do a tornado DDT, those kids are in trouble because she'll be swinging up of stuff and just, here, let me try something real quick.
That's forthcoming. First grade,
Yeah.
maybe that's a first grade goal.
Yeah, I don't know what her hamstring strength is, but if somebody might get somebody's gonna get spike pile drivered under the ground out there. Like, I know it's gonna happen
On the rocks.
Yeah.
Ideally. Not morally correct, but you know.
And she remembers names. Like, she'll do a running double knee to my back or my chest and yell Meteora. She'll just yell it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She doesn't quite get there. It's like
I need to see
Meteora or something like that, but she knows
But she
exactly
knows.
what the hell
Yeah.
she's doing. Yeah.
She's watched Sasha Banks tape.
Yes, yes, she has, and AEW. So let's get to my AEW question.
I'm ready.
Let's think of the worst thing that could happen, Tyler. If Mox, Jericho, and I guess I should preface this with Mox, Jericho, and Danielson held a talent meeting this week, which I was like, wow, how very pro sports of you. Talent holding a meeting for talent to go over things. We don't know what was said in there necessarily. It was probably more of a motivational, we have to step up. This is a bad look for the company. We need to go out there and put out the best TV matches or the best TV show we've ever done. And I feel like they stepped up. It was a great episode of Dynamite. It was another also episode of Rampage that happened with one or two really good moments. The match that I loved the most on there, but other than that, it felt like a taped version of Rampage. We got Deeb and Rain for why. I don't know why they were there other than they had a match. But there was no stakes and there's 800 belts on that show. So I struggled with that a little bit. But if Mox, Jericho, and Danielson somehow are injured or otherwise can't be on TV while Punk and the Elite are out suspended, who becomes the face of AEW from that point on?
Wow. So two people come to mind, and they're both champions right now. I was really impressed with Wardlow. Of course, it was a squash match this past week. It was against Tony Nese. I would love to see Wardlow and Tony Nese go.
I feel bad for
10
Tony
minutes.
Nese taking the squash. It could have been anybody else.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that, Brad.
Yeah.
You could name a local talent or maybe someone we've seen on Dark who could be in that spot where literally they just get the Wardlow lariat, which looks really cool.
Have Serpentico come out there.
Yeah, right.
Huge pop every time he gets killed, like mid ribbons.
Exactly. Yeah, the ribbons are a cool part of the entrance.
Yeah,
I thought if we were going to get Tony Nese versus Wardlow, it would just be deserving of, again, say a 10-minute match because Tony Nese is that good, but he was absolutely squashed. I'm bringing this up, though, because I think Wardlow could really be elevated. We don't know how long Punk and the Elite might be suspended, right? We have no idea, but I think Wardlow is a person who was red hot earlier this year, going back to summer Double or Nothing time. And he clearly knows via his promo after beating Tony Nese, he knows what some of the talk online has been regarding, hey, this dude was red hot or white hot, whatever you want to use. And now he just is kind of on the show. He's just a guy that's there that does the power bomb. I think he is someone who's going to step up, as well as, this might be wishful thinking, but I really believe this could be a great chance for Jade Cargill and Tony Storm to really cement themselves as faces of the company. I know Adam Cole, CM Punk, Kenny Omega, the Bucks, these are faces we think of when we talk All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah.
But man, who has put out better work than Toni Storm? Man or woman on the roster since she began with the company. Jade is Jade. And again, I think this could be a great moment for Wardlow to use that promo that we saw after the match to actually, over the next few weeks and months, to cement himself as, no, I'm a major player on this roster.
Yeah.
I'm capable of having great squash matches, but I'm also capable of having 10 to 15 minute bangers as well. I think he, much like Tony and Jade, just need to be given the time on the weekly product to show what they can do. But I think those three in particular can really elevate themselves. I know Jade is already, pretty up there, but I guess particularly for Tony and Wardlow, I think this could really be their time to do something with their respective championships. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I tend to agree with you. I don't know who else we have. It's maybe Swerve and Keith being tag champs.
Yeah, I mean the Acclaimed. I think we can assume they're getting the belts. Yeah,
the Acclaimed would need to be the ones. MJF would clearly be the face, I think.
Of course.
But you also don't want the biggest bad guy in the company to be the face of the company. And that's sort of Jade taking the spotlight would make a ton of sense if she wasn't working this much as a heel. I think her program with Athena hurt her a little bit in that she won't be able to get away from being a heel as easily because of all the stuff that Athena said about like the locker room, and I don't know how much of that is shoot or not. Sure felt personal. Like you were handed this because of the way you look and because of how you are. We've been working really hard, that kind of stuff. But it's like also correct. Yes. Yes, she was.
I see no lies.
I don't know.
The GIF with the
yes, yeah. It's kind of like I don't know if that's really that big of a deal there.
Yeah.
I can,
but even she in that sorry to interrupt you. Even in that feud with Athena, I hate to say this because I'm a huge fan of both of them.
Me too.
I think what Jade was compared to now, I think much like Wardlow, she's even lost a little bit of momentum too.
Well, I think people are looking at it almost the same way that we look at Roman Reigns. He's just had it too long. It's been a lot of the same, and it's like
no believable challengers.
Exactly. So right now, who do you have outside of Chris Statlander who's injured, except one person? And I don't know what they're going to do yet because they weren't on TV this week. They could easily build very quickly Jamie Hayter to be the person. Hmm. She splits from Britt, but they're going to get Britt versus Jamie before we get Jamie as a champion. And I'm fine with that. I think that gives them something to do. It keeps Britt out of the championship picture for a little while for both of them. So she can go back into it later as a fresh feud with whoever has it. Because those two have been feuding with Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa for so long. I'm kind of tired of them. Just those four are always in the picture, but Jamie's never been believable. She ate the pin at the pay-per-view. So, I don't love that stuff, but you could easily build Jamie up. And I think she should be the one to take one of the championships next because she's the most polished of everybody. Now, I would also say Ruby could easily be the face of AEW if she can come back and not get hurt by somebody. If Sammy could not let her go like that in the middle of a match or have her face get kicked in for a broken nose, that would also be great.
It was rough.
Poor Ruby has just been hitting this run of bad luck. And I think you and I both freaking love her in-ring work.
Yeah.
She's excellent on the microphone. She has incredible facials. She's a really good worker. She tells really good stories in the ring. I can see her doing this too. I think where we agree is we definitely want to see if something like this happened or just in general, one of the women become more of a face or more prominent in the company.
Definitely.
And then one of the champions that's not getting as much of a spotlight, like Wardlow, because the TNT title's been kind of in the mud since Sammy dropped it.
It has. And we had a lot of hope that Wardlow would reignite.
Yeah.
Some of that.
Yeah, because Scorpio Sky had it, which was fine. At first, I was happy to see a black champion with the belt, and then the run was just kind of meh because it was all the Dan Lambert stuff, and it was just kind of weird. And then all the stuff happened with Sammy and Ty, and then the heel turn happened, and then things were just fuzzy because it was heel. I didn't want to see it no matter what happened. I didn't care who won. Like I was like, oh, I hope Scorpio wins because he's less bad than Sammy right now.
It was a weird time.
It was really weird, and all the heat on that title and all the prestige of that title just evaporated.
Yeah.
And then we got Wardlow win, and it was a great moment. And ever since then, I feel like he's done trios matches.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
and finally, I second that. Great shout for you mentioning the Acclaimed. I don't think we can answer this question without putting them in the conversation. The pop that they're going to receive in New York when they
can't wait.
When they beat Swerve in Our Glory, and hopefully that match is just as good as All Out, if not better. The pop they were going to receive, and hopefully the money isn't in just that moment. I hope that they are given these same reactions, presumably when they become champions through the rest of the year. I hope that momentum stays with them, but they're as over as anyone. The Scissor Me, I mean, it's printing money right now.
Yeah.
And I just want to end by saying, I also think a sneaky choice for this. These guys have been around since day one, but a sneaky choice could be Death Triangle as well. The trios titles are here. It's something new in the company. Brad, I don't know about you, but I think just about every trios match I've seen has always delivered. I'm such a fan of it. These three guys are just, although I was pulling for best friends, as I know you were, you're a big fan of tie-dye clothing. Although I was pulling for them, that was off air. Not a fan of tie-dye clothing. Not a fan of tie-dye clothing, I learned. I'll pass it to you if you want to say anything about that.
Sweet home Alabama.
I think Death Triangle is maybe an underdog pick for your question as well, because those dudes are the first champions. I would imagine they have a fire lit under them because they were not supposed to have these belts at all.
Right.
But now I think they're probably going to do they're going to put out just amazing matches over the next few months.
It was actually my first thought was Death Triangle, but I think specifically connecting with the audience. And I think they would struggle a little bit because Penta doing his catchphrase repeatedly over and over again 600 times in a row is starting to wear on me. Like, save that. Do the taunt, or do it at the beginning of the match. Like, come out and do it, and then in the middle of the match do it once, but don't do it every time you're about to do a move.
It's a lot.
It's so irritating.
I did pop for the face off between him and OC, but
that was great.
I agree with you. It does. This is a common criticism we've had of that element.
But that's also how it ends. It's always Penta will say very little in English, if anything at all, and he'll say that. Ray will do a little bit of English commentary. Pac will do a bunch of stuff, but he's so Scottish.
Two belt Pac.
Holy hell, it's so hard to understand him when he gets going. I don't know that would connect with the audience. I freaking love it. I love the dichotomy there. I love it so much. Awesome. I love Penta says with Abraham.
Alex. He's a critical part.
I love it so much. I don't know that it would connect with a big part of their audience. Do you think? Last question here. I know we're going long on this, but do you think that when Swerve in Their Glory drop the belts, that Swerve turns heel? Because I feel like he's the most natural heel in the world.
Yeah. I always think, could there be, total pun intended, could there be a Swerve, because it's so predictable that Swerve would be the heel? Maybe they switch it up and Keith becomes it.
I would love it.
Yeah, I'm not going to rule that out. But my answer would be yes. Swerve seems like the absolute heel here. I mean, he interrupted Max Caster's rap this week, so the seeds.
Well, they were also in character at the media scrum.
Yeah, exactly. And Swerve, we thought Swerve in Our Glory was going to be done months ago when he eliminated Keith out of the Battle Royal. So the seeds definitely seem to be planted there, but I would not put it past AEW to pull a Swerve. We think what we get, what we expect is maybe going to be flipped 180, and maybe Keith ends up turning. But I think Keith is just such a good baby face. Yeah. And I think Swerve can be such a great
I also think
heel.
They need that right now too. They need that baby face. They have a lot of shades of gray. Is Mox a baby face? I think he is, but he also wants to beat up your favorite baby faces.
He does.
So it's Danielson's still coming out of the heel tunnel. And
with Regal.
There's so many shades of gray people that I think you need a clear baby face. Punk was supposed to be that. He's gone. You have the Elite now. I think they'll always be gray. Kenny is such a natural heel that even as a baby face, he's a bad guy. So I don't know. Keith makes the most sense to have as a monster babyface, but I love the way Swerve addressed it. Like, why? When Tony Khan was like, well, I think Arthur Ashe is a great place for a rematch. He's like, why?
Points were
They just
made.
lost back of the
Yeah.
line. But
Yeah.
total makes total sense, right?
Exactly.
I can also see the Acclaimed having an impossibly short title run when FTR takes the belts off of them and turns again. I just don't want to see FTR turn heel again. But
Seems like a Full Gear match.
they've been the number one contenders for how long? So
they're even tweeting about it now. I think one of FTR tweeted
it's time in the belts.
Hey, we're still here.
And it was the old belts. It was the original belts, the old design of the tag belts.
Yeah.
Slightly
and it would be interesting because the Acclaimed are so over, and FTR has been the most over tag team, and now it seems like they're passing.
Imagine that.
It would be really cool. It would be really cool at Full Gear to see if I would imagine we're maybe getting Swerve versus Keith at Full Gear, but it would be really interesting to see if the crowd turns on FTR during a potential FTR versus Acclaimed match, the same way they did for Swerve in Our Glory at All Out.
I think FTR would put them over. I think Tony
would
want them to do that too, because that would be a big deal.
Huge deal. Needed.
Yeah. I don't need them to do a belt for belt, but I can see them like losing at Full Gear and then asking for a rematch. And then taking the belts from them in a belt for belt. Cause then it's like, we already saw them win. And now it's not going to be that big of a deal if they lose. Cause we're running out of tag teams here. Like everybody's injured and Bobby Fish isn't with the company anymore. So you're not going to get KO and Bobby Fish.
No.
Red Dragon's done.
It could be a great opportunity for House of Black to step up. Sans Malachi, of course, but House Buddy and Brody.
Best Friends.
They're right there.
Dark Order,
absolutely.
Parts of Dark Order. Cause you have Uno and you have 10, but you have Reynolds and Silver they've stepped up. Reynolds has stepped the hell up.
I know you've been very complimentary of him, as you should.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, beard strength. It's got to be what it is. It's fun. It's funny how all that works. And Tyler, we're going to do something now that's funny. We're going to talk about the funniest thing that happened from the week. We haven't done this in months, if ever. It's time for the Gutbuster of the week.
And now it's time for the Gutbuster of the week.
Tyler, this week, I got a screenshot, a text message from you, and it was an AEW media release saying, "Hey, this week on Unrestricted, this is what's on the podcast." Tony Schiavone sits down with Claudio, right? I haven't had a chance to listen to anything yet. And I didn't get it. I checked my email and I'm like, why don't I have it? Because we have the Gimmick Infringement account we share. And I couldn't find it. I searched for it. I refreshed. I uninstalled my Gmail app. I reinstalled it. I restarted my phone 3 times, trying to get it. It wasn't there. I would search for AEW. There's nothing there. Could not figure it out. I'm troubleshooting, going online, going like, does Gmail automatically download from the server? Because on Apple Mail, there's a box you can check when you download it. It automatically deletes it from the server. So once it's on your phone, it's off of the server. So I just figured that's what was happening. The setting was on, and you're like, no, I'm using the Gmail app. So then I went, I don't have any idea what's going on here. So ladies and gentlemen, I went into the trash.
Yes.
And sitting in the trash were all of the AEW media releases, which Tyler went, I've read these. I'm good. Delete. So by the time I got there, there's nothing in the mail anymore. It was hours. I lost it when I found out what had happened. I thought it was so funny that I spent all that time and it was just in the trash. Because Tyler's trying to clean up his inbox.
And I was compared to, you told me, who did you compare me to? Well, it wasn't Chuck.
Oh God, I don't remember.
Did you say Chuck also does that? He'll check his email and then delete. He wants to clear that inbox as soon as possible.
I mean, it sounds like it. I really can't remember.
Yeah.
Chuck, I have to find
your father-in-law. Yeah.
Yes, I'm desperately trying to find this here. We talk way too much, it seems.
It's a lot. But Brad, your recounting of the story, I will just confirm for our audience, is completely accurate. I have the multiple email gimmick on my phone, so I have my personal Gmail. I have my work email as an option. I know I shouldn't, but I do have it on there. Then I also have Gimmick Infringement. So you're absolutely right. This was an unfortunate situation, but you are 100% accurate, and it was a total gutbuster for me this week too.
I realized, no, I compared you to my father.
Amazing.
I said you are my dad. Here's why. My
take it.
father, Dale Winchester, and my mother, Sherry Winchester, for that matter, both do this thing where they say, we were trying to get them to go on Facebook, and they were like, "Well, I don't have the app on my computer." They didn't know it was a website, Tyler. They don't know the difference between some of those things. Well, I found it on the computer. It's like, it's not just pre-installed onto the computer. It's you're checking the internet.
Exactly.
They haven't done that for a long time, but it gave me like 5 years ago vibes when they were trying to figure it out. It's so adorable and so great when they do that stuff.
Yes.
So you totally reminded me of that. Like, well, it's off my phone, so it's fine. Let me go ahead and swipe that shit off my email.
No recollection of it anymore. It's been
it's gone. It's gone. Anyway, it made me laugh, and that was it's probably my favorite part of the week. But speaking of the week, Tyler, what are you looking forward to this week?
So much. I want to start with the WNBA. It is now time for the WNBA finals. Actually, Brad, as we're recording this in about 45 minutes, game one is going to start from Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Aces are facing the Connecticut Sun. So I am particularly excited for this matchup. Last season, it was the Chicago Sky against our beloved Phoenix Mercury. So as geeked as I was for that, just as excited for this matchup. I think the Aces are going to win the series. I could absolutely see it going all the way, going 5 games, but I think the talent is just incredible, and I think it's going to be a really competitive series. So between the WNBA finals, of course, the Bachelorette, all the wrestling we have, and then on the work side of things, campus visits are starting. So I've been to a few high schools. I know we have some evening events coming up within the next few weeks, all the way through October. So work-wise, things are picking up. Summer was kind of slow, making a lot of calls, sending emails regarding teachers college and speaking with folks, youth, and then, people who are already adults and want to change their career. A lot of conversations about teachers college at ASU. Now it's actually being in the field, traveling, shaking hands, kissing babies, sanitizing, hopefully in between those so that we can all stay healthy. So yeah, man, a lot going on, but entertainment side of things, super excited for basketball. I have 2K23 also. I have the proof right here. I have not played it yet as we're recording, but I totally forgot who was on the cover. It's a Devin Booker edition.
That's real nice.
I was like, I don't need to get 2K23. If I do, maybe I'll wait till like the Black Friday sales.
And then you saw the cover.
And then I forgot who's on the cover. So hopefully I'll make time for that. But yeah, man, I'm really optimistic about this week, and I don't want to take up any more airspace. I want to hear what you're most looking forward to.
Sleep. I'm looking forward to the next weekend this week. I'm already ready for it. I'm just fast forward to Friday. I'm going weekend to weekend right now.
Amen.
I'm writing grants. Grant singular. Jess is helping with a lot of the work because it's her nonprofit. By the way, Wonder and Wander. If you're looking for a worthy donation, please head to the Small Town USA page or Jess's Instagram account or Facebook account or Twitter account or wherever you find her socials. You can go donate there. I'm looking forward to finishing it because if I finish it, I'm done. I'm done with the class, and the class ends at the end of October. So if I can finish early, that's great. Then I'll have fall break to myself when my parents come to visit, hopefully. And I'm also looking forward to, maybe not this week, but Tyler, the Disney Expo was yesterday, and they released trailers for all these shows coming out. Mandalorian season 3 trailer, the Secret Invasion Marvel trailer, which looks great. Nick Fury back, Samuel L. Jackson back in a lead role. Can't wait for that.
Let's go.
They announced a bunch of projects, but most importantly, a Willow series finally has a bigger trailer. Have you ever heard of Willow?
No. When
I
you said
absolutely
Willow,
had, yes.
I think of Jeff Hardy in TNA. I think of Willow
Yeah.
Nightingale,
Willow the Wisp. Yes.
who we admire.
Yes.
No, I'm not familiar with your Willow.
Willow was it was an '80s movie that I grew up with Warwick Davis and Val Kilmer, and I don't know if you know who Warwick Davis is. He's a little dude.
No, but I know Val Kilmer. Kilmer,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I don't believe he'll be in this. I think he's retired from acting because of health and stuff. But I can't wait. It's like 30 plus years later, we're getting a sequel finally. Maybe it wasn't quite that long. I want to say it was the late '80s. It might have been early '90s when Willow came out, but it was like they had a transition where this spell goes wrong and he's trying to transform somebody back to being a person, and it's very early CG for the transition between those things. So it's I think it was before Jurassic Park at the very least, which was '93. I'm pumped for this. I can't wait for this. It looks great. So I'm excited to get to kind of relive my childhood a little bit, and hopefully it doesn't suck, because sometimes it's terrible, but it looks great. And the music is great. So I can't wait.
I know that matters to you. I can sense the excitement already. So please let me know how that goes. Speaking of reliving our childhood, I forgot to tell you this in the opener, or the opener of this segment, if you will. Tomorrow, as part of my visits, I'm going back to my high school. So for one class period, I'll be speaking to their future educators class at Mountain Ridge High School, the school I graduated from in 2011. So yeah, man, I love how the connection here is you're reliving your childhood through this project. And then I'll be back speaking to the classroom I'm going to is my freshman English teacher, who I haven't seen since, I was a freshman, really. So it's going to be a trip, man. But I'm so excited for you. Like you, I just am already kind of fantasizing about Friday at the end of the workday, just to catch up on some sleep and to, make time for all the other things we enjoy outside of our work. So man, I'm hopeful it'll be a good week full of health and laughter, and maybe we'll get another Gutbuster. Maybe I'll delete some emails from the GI account, and we'll be talking about this next weekend.
I'm hoping that it's something just happens sporadically. I hope somebody runs down to the ring and trips and slides all the way under it. I hope that Braun Strowman falls down again. Normally you could go like Gutbuster of the week is probably some reference McAfee made on SmackDown, but we're not getting that for a while. Or it could be just some unfortunate thing JR says in commentary. It just all sort of depends.
Or maybe we see more clips from that. What was it? First Wrestling Saturday Night Nitro. Yes. Brad, I had to get that in before we wrap up the episode. So this past weekend, yesterday, as we're recording this, so Saturday, September 10th, First Wrestling, it looks like a promotion out of Minnesota, ran an event in the Mall of America called Saturday Night Nitro, obviously a nod to WCW and how they used to run in Mall of America. Brad, I don't know about you, but I saw these tweets, the pictures, the videos. And first of all, I forgot it was happening this past weekend. Had no clue it was available on Fight TV for $12.99. But
absolute steal.
Absolute steal. Yeah. Dante Martin, Rob Van Dam, Orange Cassidy. I felt so excited about this. I'm just hoping if there's any chance, if AEW, or not even AEW, if an independent promotion runs an event at the Tucson Mall, or dare I say Arrowhead Mall, closer to where I'm at in Glendale, we have to be there, Brad. I need Freya there. I need her to hit a tornado DDT on somebody. This event looks so cool. Did you get to see some of the photos?
I did. I saw a lot of the photos. I saw Dante. It looked like he was in pain. RVD. So it looked like spin kicking somebody mid-spin kick. I saw Orange Cassidy with the fist. And especially enjoyed watching the people in the crowd. There was a dude there that had aviators on. That was probably a Cassidy fan. That was like, just mouth open, eyes wide, just so surprised. Couldn't see his eyes, but his eyebrows were elevated. So either he's really weird looking, or he was surprised and excited.
Yeah, this looked like an absolute blast. But that being said, man, hopefully it's a great week ahead. I highly, highly recommend you all follow Brad on Twitter. Top 5 follow on that app easily, no question. He is at Windduster. I am at Tyler J. McDowell. Of course, hopefully by now you know we are at GIPod19, at 19M Group on Twitter. Please support the team. Our fellow creators are doing great things, and we encourage you to give their shows a watch, a listen, and everything in between. Brad, I will see you on the next episode of Gimmick Infringement. I hope all of you will join us then, and we hope you have a great week. Gimmick Infringement is a part of 19 Media Group. You can listen to us on Good Pods, our premier partners, and Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube via the 19 Media Group channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.